David 44D here with the ship's roster review. Today we are taking a look at Azrael's ships. So let's take a look at his current fleet arena team. Currently it looks like Azrael's doing a very good job in ships. It looks like he's capable of making it into the top 10 every day. His fleet is Chimera, which looks pretty maxed out with the Houndstooth, some Empire synergies, Phantom 2, Slave 1, so pretty decent fleet all around, using good reinforcements currently. But I imagine with the Millennium Falcon meta, it's probably pretty hard if there's quite a few Millennium Falcons in your shard. It's probably pretty hard for you to climb. So we're going to first off offer just some other semi-meta teams for you to potentially be able to climb it with or add more options to your roster, while also prepping you for getting and building a Millennium Falcon Rebels team. So those are going to be our goals here. Just developing out some other teams for you to use and other options. So that you have a bigger toolbox to work with, and so that you can be prepared for the future potential metas in this game. So let's go look at your ships. And the first thing I always love looking at are capital ships. So let's just take a look at your Chimera. I was right, you have everything maxed out on it, apart from ability level. So if you want, you can put some Zetas on your Thrawn, and that would add 1-2 speed to the ship, help out a little bit. Here's my view on putting Zetas on ship characters. Azrael, when it comes to putting Zetas on a character for ships, you need to look at the other fleets in your shard. The other fleets in your shard have that Zeta, you're more likely going to need it. If the other fleets in your shard don't have that Zeta, it's beneficial to have. It will give you a bit of a buff compared to them, make it more likely for you to win, but it's not necessary to have because you're already on more of an equal footing with them. So you can make that determination yourself. I don't want 100% push for it, but again, it could be something that would benefit you. So the two capital ships here, though, that we really do need to take a look at here are going to be the Executrix and the Home One. Because one of the fleets I'm going to suggest is going to be the Geos, the Geonosians. And the Geonosians are a fantastic fleet, but considering, and they work with the Chimera or the Home One, but considering you're going to want to be developing a Rebel fleet, and Chimera is probably better overall for Empire teams, Executrix is going to be your go-to lead, and it's probably the best leader for Geos anyhow, even though Chimera and Home 1 can still be effective with it. So you're going to want to max out Victory at all costs. You're going, and Executive Order are going to be the two you maxed out first. So Victory at all costs, then Executive Order. Heavy Ion Cannon should be third, followed by Imperial Assault, and last is Turbo Laser batteries. Nowadays, you rarely use the basics on capital ships, so it's worthless to make it the first thing you max out. So if you're working on the Executrix, which you probably should be, you have a Gear 11 Tarkin. I would take him to Gear 12 because the Executrix is such a good ship, and I think Tarkin is an underrated character who's probably pretty useful in areas like territory wars, territory battles, and Grand Arena. So I would actually Gear 12 him. Plus, you probably want to have him Gear 12 anyway because the Executrix may be meta again. Whether or not you want to put the Zetas on Tarkin is another question. So that's something I would so that's what you want to consider when maxing this out. On the other hand, you also should be working on your Home One, because I already took a look at your Bounty Hunters real quick, and we're going to talk about them more in depth in a second. However, your Home One is going to be necessary for a Rebel fleet, which means you need to level 85 the Home One, you need to Gear 12 your Akbar, at least Gear 11 if you don't want Gear 12, but I highly suggest Gear 12 being your Akbar. and getting up these abilities. Band Together being your first ability. You can decide between Seize the Advantage and Defiant Volley for your second and third, Master Plan for your fourth, and Moncal Cannons as your fifth. Again, it's the basic, so you should rarely need it. So really, you should be working on Akbar because Home 1 is going to be the only is the best lead for a rebel fleet. Um, so considering we're going to be building up to a rebel fleet, let's first talk about what you need to get yourself a Millennium Falcon. You're going to need the bounty hunters. So you already have your Houndstooth and Slave 1 pretty much maxed out. Maybe you could put Zetas on them. Maybe you could put gear 12 plus gear. I'm not going to worry about that. But you pretty much have those two maxed out. However, you have the IG 2000 here in Xanadu Blood, which I'm assuming you're probably farming. You have a gear 11 IG 88, so that looks excellent. But then I look down here at Cad Bane's ship, and you don't have Cad Bane geared up. You don't even have the character level 85. This is an excellent ship. You really should be working on gearing him. He has a good AoE. He has breach synergy that works alongside the breach on Houndstooth. It can make for a good offensive or defensive territory wars team. So you really should have Xanadu Blood. And you really should be working on it. So get it up to 7-star, work on gearing up Cad Bane, and that will give you one excellent ship there to work on. IG 2000, not nearly as good as the other 3 bounty hunter ships. However, it does have some synergy with them and can be useful for territory wars and Grand Arena if you're needing to put together a team with some other bounty hunters just because it requires so many ships. So that's fine to work on the abilities there, and you already have it up a good amount. So, but finish 7-starring both of those because that's exactly what you need in order to 7-star the Millennium Falcon. However, you do have them 5-star, which fortunately means next time around you're going to be able to 7-star the Falcon. I don't know. I can take a look later at what your Han and Chewie look like, but if they're not that great, definitely gear them up. Put Zetas on them. The Zetas on those characters are super useful. And it will also make your Falcon stronger. Gear 12 those characters if you can, because they're also amazing characters, and gear 12ing them will not hurt. So obviously the Falcon is going to be the center of your Rebels team. However, what other ships might you want to look at starting with on a Falcon team? Well, the Houndstooth is pretty central a lot of the times, especially for a double tank team. The Houndstooth works real well. Let's say, though, you don't want a double tank. Well, either way, you're probably going to want to have Biggs. So let's take a look at your Biggs real quick. Can I find your Biggs? Here it is. Yeah, so you're going to want to have your Biggs X-Wing. It looks like you've done a good amount of work on it. I personally have my Biggs X-Wing gear 12 because Biggs is the second best ship's tank, so it really does not hurt to have it up. Houndstooth does overshadow it nowadays. However, if you're able to get Biggs tank further up, I would. It's an excellent tank. The more health you have on it, the more annoying. And by putting more gear on Biggs, you're just going to add more health and make it harder to get through. So that's one thing. Either way, you're going to want to start out with. The two other common starting ships I see alongside Houndstooth and alongside the Millennium Falcon and Biggs. So Houndstooth, again, is one option for the third starting ship. Makes a double tank. The next option is Ghost. And the Ghost is probably one of the best plug-and-play ships in the game. That and the Phantom are both super plug-and-play. You can use them in nearly any fleet, I believe, and it will do well. Um, but the Ghost is an excellent ship. You definitely are going to need to gear up these characters to gear 11 so you can max out the abilities on this ship, if not higher. Because you're going, again, as I personally believe, I think the Ghost and the Phantom are some of the best ships in the game. They have been in the meta for probably the past year, apart from they've been in the meta ever since Ships 2.0 came out, if not before then. I think a lot of people undervalue these ships, and it's going to be absolutely essential for a Rebels team. Some of the hardest teams for me to go against have the Ghost. If you aren't going to use Ghost as your third starting ship, if you're going to use the Houndstooth instead, this is definitely going to be your second reinforcement, which is part of the reason you want to work on this. I mean, you have your reinforcement ability maxed out on this, which is fantastic. Um, but overall, I'll also say Phoenix are not bad characters. They are wonderful characters in this game, so it really is not going to hurt you to work on these characters at all. I personally believe. You don't need to Zeta them. If you Zeta them, it's just a little bonus again. Um, but definitely gear up any characters to gear 11. I think in ships, gear 11 can generally handle compared to a normal arena where you need gear 12. However, if the other people around you have gear 12, you probably need gear 12. That's the way I look at it. So, Ghost, you're going to need your first reinforcement, no matter what, in your Rebels fleet should be the Phantom. The Phantom and a Rebels fleet especially, but overall in this game is the best reinforcement in ships no matter what. No argument. Um, so again, you want to gear 11 these characters. You don't even have a 7-star Sabine. You gotta get her up to 7-star because here's the thing. In ships with the characters, the character stats affect your overall ship stats. So it's not like adding a mod with more speed adds more mods. No, it affects everything on your ship. So adding a 15 5 dot mod, level 15 5 dot mod to your character affects every stat on your ship and increases it. So it is super important to have these characters up to 7-star gear 11. So you really do have to work on Sabine and work on Ezra and work on Chopper. The other thing is you have to get these characters to gear 11 so you can max out the abilities on it and get the full worth of the ship. Like Chopper does it. If you have this maxed out, uh, you have more attack buff chance. You have speed up, so that's good. Maximum impact, you get more damage from having that maxed out. And maximum impact is probably one of the most devastating abilities because it can come in and do up to 80 to 100k in damage, which is part of the reason we want to have these characters geared up so that maximum impact can do way more damage and hurt your opponent. Because if you have maximum impact maxed out, it can come in. Sights locked is real good too because the target lock chance can help heal the protection on your bigs when it comes in. So it's just as annoying as maximum impact because they may have a taunting big. You may have a taunting bigs that comes in with sights locked, heals the bigs, and you're like, dang it, now I have to get through that protection again. So really, you do need to get the Phantom 2 up, and this is probably the most important reinforcement in the game anyhow, because even if you're not using it on a Rebels fleet, I was looking at your fleet earlier, you're currently using it, so you have no reason not to work on this ship more. So you really should, if you need a team to be working on right now, I would suggest working on your Phoenix, getting them up to at least gear 11. You have most of them gear 10 already, so it shouldn't take too long to do that, hopefully, apart from Sabine, who you could just focus on and get her up much more quickly. And 7-star her too. Um, I believe she can be found in the guild store along with a hard node. Obviously, there's so many more hard node farms, so work on her out of the guild store. So, what are the other ships that are going to be good in a Rebels fleet? Well, you could use Wedge. However, I would say Wedge is better for specifically is specifically going to be best for uh, Grand Arena and Territory Wars for a Rebels team. So we won't talk about him too much, but you can develop Wedge out if you want. But the other two ships are going to be super important. One of them you don't even have is Cassian's U-Wing. So let's look at this real quick. Cassian's U-Wing has a lot of dispelling, whether it's on his reinforcement ability or on threat assessment. It dispels target enemies or infiltration. Tactics helps dispel debuffs. It's a great ship because of that. It also makes, if you don't want to go with Ghost or you don't want to go with Houndstooth, this is the third option that is fantastic for a starting ship in a Rebels team. You will also want to eventually have this as a reinforcement on a Rebels team if you don't use it as a starting ship, just because of how good a ship is, and it's always fantastic to have a dispeller as a reinforcer. So that's why I find TIE Reaper to be good reinforcement. Ahsoka makes a decent reinforcement. Dispellers just make great reinforcements in ships. And on top of that, the characters, though not the best in the game, again make a decent defensive team in Grand Arena, and they're required for territory battles. Also, Cassian's U-Wing is farmable in the Cantina store. So it's unique from other ships because of that. So it's much easier to focus down on. So I would farm up Cassian's U-Wing. And then again, we're talking about Rebel ships. So Biston's U-Wing is going to be a good option because of that. You don't. Again, this is another ship you need to work on 7-starring and working on the characters. And maybe this is a more long-term ship. It's still an excellent ship. It can act as a TIE Advanced, a better version of the TIE Advanced in some instances, especially on a Rebels fleet. This is going to be an excellent ship. But I think you have plenty of other options that you can probably use as reinforcements. Slave 1, TIE Advanced should make good reinforcements on your Rebels fleet eventually. You're going to have plenty of options there that are already good reinforcement choices. So in the long term, you probably don't have to worry, but I would choose between either gearing up, working on Biston's U-Wing or working on Cassian's U-Wing for a Rebel fleet. And if you want to get both up, that's even better. But again, you might not want to focus out that way. So that's what you're going to want if you want a Rebels fleet. You're going to want to work on making sure you 7-star those Bounty Hunter ships and probably get up Cad Bane so that the Xanadu Blood is useful for you. And it's, again, a great ship that was meta for a little while last year. And then you're going to want to work on your Phoenix ships especially, and potentially the U-Wings, the Rogue One U-Wings, will both make great ship options if you want to develop them out for a Rebel fleet. But you're also going to want to work on your Akbar if you do that. Now I'll just give you another fleet option to work on. This would be more of a side project, but again, they're an excellent team. Lots of synergy together. The Geos. The Geos are a great ships team. I think I personally have them Gear 12. I currently using them in Arena as my counter to the Millennium Falcon. It's really tough. I don't have the Millennium Falcon, so it's really my only option right now. But this is a team that people undervalue. It's excellent. Uh, they're easy to 7-star. The character's not as much, and apart from some fact, it's harder to find uses for them. But they have been giving them a territory war buff recently, so maybe not too bad there. So if you want a side team to work on Geos. But I think the better track right now is probably working on your Rebel ships. But then Geos you still should at least get these characters up to 7-star and the ships up to 7-star. So it's a lot easier to gear them when the time comes. So Azrael, I really hope this helped. I think I'm not sure what improvements you can make to your normal fleet, except for maybe at the moment, if you want to chain, one option I guess could be you could use Executrix with the Houndstooth, Ghost, and Xanadu Blood starting if you wanted. That's a real tricky team for people, but you'd have to get your Executrix up some more, and I'm not sure you're wanting to do that. I think it's more at this time planning for when you get the Millennium Falcon. I think should be your goal, and working on ships that are good for that. Those ships might be ones you're able to replace current ships that you're using with, if you so chose. But if this didn't help you at all, just let me know. I'm willing to relook at it, give you some comments in Discord. But talk to you later, Azrael. Have a good day. This is David4040 signing out.